COSATU has been doing some groundwork to contribute towards the formalization of the informal economy. Let's start with the R2004. Precisely what is R2004 and how did it come about?
Recommendation 204 is a recommendation that was adopted by the ILC in 2015. The intention of this recommendation was the transitioning from the informal to the formal economy. That was the intention of the recommendation. Processes that we followed, we had to, through our vulnerable workers task team, bring on board the informal workers to prepare for the ILO Geneva conference. We had to hear from them what their issues were. That is why we worked closely with them before going to ILO conference. What we did to ensure that the voice of the informal economy workers is heard in Geneva, we included them in the workers' delegation. As you know, the ILO is business workers and employers, but we ensured that the informal workers are included in the worker delegation so that their voice could be heard and they could be speaking for themselves.
Okay. Speaking of the ILO, COSATU coordinated and participated in the dialogue on the ILO recommendation that was held in Durban early this year. Can you take us through some of the discussion topics that formed part of the agenda, as well as the overall outcome of the dialogue?
Well, the dialogue was held after a number of workshops where we had to do education of workers on the issue of recommendation 204. But after the NEDLAC Decent Work Country program prioritized implementation of recommendation 204, we then realized that the different sectors were not all at the same level, and that's why the dialogue was organized, which included business, it included all government departments, it included all the labor organizations, as well as the informal workers themselves. Those are the own account workers like street traders and waste pickers. So that dialogue included all of them. The theme of that dialogue was the future of the informal economy towards a roadmap to facilitate the transitioning from informal to formal. We had to have that dialogue so that we all move together.
Now, with the implementation of the recommendation, we know that you're working with the International Labour Organization. Which other social partners and labour representatives are you working closely with to address these challenges?
Well, first of all, we work closely with the labour federations. That's NATU and FEDUSA. We have workshops with them. But we also have meetings with StreetNet, which is an international organization for street traders. We work with WIEGO as well, which is the Women International Organization. We include our local organizations like SAITA, the South African Street Traders Association. We also bring on board MWASA, which is the Migrant Workers Association in South Africa. We work closely with a number of other organizations.
What are some of the victories that COSATU has attained towards the formalization of the informal economy?
Well, victories that we can speak of. Remember, The recommendation was only adopted in 2015, but COSATU work started long before the R204 was adopted. So victories, the national minimum wage is a huge victory for the informal workers because we've managed to include a clause that will cover the farm workers, domestic workers, even the expanded public works program in the national minimum wage. It was a huge battle, but the clause is there available to say within 2 years, these sectors that are earning far below the minimum wage should have caught up with the other workers on the national minimum wage. We are continuing in all negotiations at NEDLAC. Like example, in the comprehensive social security, we now ensure that the informal workers are included in those discussions and not left out. And we use R204 to ensure that they are included so that government understands when we are speaking of a comprehensive social security, it should not just be for workers and the others in the country, but informal workers should be included. NHI, which we have been long negotiating and arguing the importance of NHI, will be covering the informal economy. That's the national health insurance. That's still negotiated, but we are ensuring that it will cover informal economy workers.
What can workers expect from COSATU in terms of campaigns and programs that will be implemented to further the agenda of the vulnerable sector as well as the informal economy as a whole?
The expectation from workers is further education, more of in campaign formats around the issues. Workers can now know that we are ensuring that local government is also workshopped. Officials must know the content of R204. We can assure them that the old bylaws that have been operating affecting the informal workers will be changed because those are very old bylaws. We want a national strategy. That is why we formed the National Task Team, which will be looking at those amendments of laws to include informal workers.
If you can give us maybe one of the bylaws that the informal workers want to be changed to accommodate them better.
One, there's a few. A very important one is the space for them to be able to do their work, to sell their goods. They're not allowed space in the city centers. So with recommendation 204, it spells out, it guides the countries on allowing suitable space for them, shelters to be able to sell their, whether it's vegetables or it's the fruit. And R204 will also ensure that the informal workers are not removed out of the cities
With
their goods confiscated, yes. Our experience of 2010, when the World Cup was coming to South Africa, the informal workers were all removed out of the city center in the name of clean cities. And they were removed and they lost livelihoods. They couldn't make a living for the time when the the 2010 World Cup was coming. So with the R204, it's going to address those type of issues. Also, it's going to ensure the health and safety of these workers that are selling in the streets. The health and safety, there must be facilities for them to be able to use toilets, to ensure, when I say health and safety, it's to cover the broad health and safety, and to ensure those that are cooking in the roads, they also have safe working spaces. Some even bring their children with. So with the R204 guidelines, it's also instructing governments that they should provide like a creche, childcare facilities for the children, so children are not sitting there in the road while the mother is selling.